Shalom, shalom. I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge all the Akyam who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth, and shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. Alright, this is the brother Shabai from the GMS Denver camp. And basically just going in on the subject of a couple things I'm going to bring out here. Move with the spirit. But on the picture you see here is this dude named Alan Nascimento. He's a former UFC fighter. But as you can see, it says he was born on September 11th and he died on August 3rd this year. So the reason I'm bringing this out is because if you scroll up a little, and by the way, this is a fair use under the copyright of that was made in the 1970s. I'm not making any money off of this. This is strictly for educational purposes. Okay. So anyway, this dude Alan Nascimento, he was 34 years old, right? He's in the prime. He's in his prime of his life, right? Look at these pictures. This dude's shredded to the gills. Looks like he's in good shape, right? And the first thing I thought of when I saw that this dude passed away, because if you read it, the article, let's see if we can find it. Here you go. Right in the middle of your screen, it says UFC fighter Alan Nascimento dies after apparent heart attack. Okay. So this dude had a heart attack at the age of 34 while being in his prime, in peak physical condition. On the outside, it looks like, at least, right? And the thing is people can say what they want, but the men of the Lord, we know, and when you see a young dude like this die from a heart attack, he's training, the guy's always probably running, jogging, those type of things strengthen your heart. So for you to kick the bucket on a heart attack, there had to be something something kind of funky that happened, that we're gonna point the blame on the Novid jump shot. Okay, because we know through the spirit that if you took the jump shot, we got to use code words so the algorithm doesn't fuck up our video. But you get what I'm you get what I'm saying. You get my point. I believe this dude took the Novid-19 vaccination. All right, he's Brazilian. He's from Brazil. So I happened to Google on my computer here. I said, did people in Brazil take the Novid shot? And it says 88% partially vaccinated and 82% fully vaccinated. Okay. And then you had over half, with about 59%, which actually took the BOOSTER dose. Okay. And again, we got to use code words because YouTube will send their henchmen to strike our videos and remove our videos from the list and call it medical misinformation, But I mean, I came across this article, and the first thing I thought was, oh shit, homie took the jab, you know. And the men of the Lord, starting out with the men of GMS, we've been prophesying and teaching since before this inoculation was made mandatory for a lot of people. We were telling you not to take it, you know. But a lot of people, they didn't listen to the prophets, because that's the story of our people. You know, they disregard the prophets, they disregard the word of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, who has put his words in our mouths, okay? So when we were out there on the street corners warning our people not to take the jab, you know, not to take the jump shot, you know, people just blew us off, you know, swept it under the rug, you know, they didn't listen, you know. And now look, this dude, he died on August 3rd. What's today? August 5th. So he died 2 days ago at age 34. I think I read the article. In the article I read, he said he had 2 children and a wife, you know. So now they don't have a husband and a father, okay, because they you know, they didn't listen to us blowing the trumpet, okay? Because that's what we're doing when we're out there teaching, prophesying. We're blowing the trumpet, you know. And the elect, we know through the Holy Spirit that the elect are going to hearken and listen to that message, to that trumpet, and they're going to take heed. But you're also going to have the 2/3 of our people that they're just going to ignore and move forward as, you know, as they please. And this type of shit happens, okay? And you know what? Through the Spirit, because I had a friend here. Let me see. Same thing happened to her. Let's go right here. This girl right here, I used to deal with her a couple years ago, right? Well, maybe it's been longer than that. Maybe it's been like 3 years. But she used to be a track star. Okay, here's her little, they did a little, well, I don't know if that'll stop my audio. This thing is weird if I get online sometimes. So this is her right here. It says Alabama, the University of Alabama track and field. She was born in 87 and she died this year. Okay. And guess what? Same thing. She took that jab. Okay. Because I think this would make her about 38 years old. Maybe 39. My math is right. So anyway, you know, both in their 30s, young athletes, you know. Let me get out of that. And you know, you see what's happening, right? They're dropping like flies. And the wicked, they know they know what's going on. They know why these people died. That's why they're in the courthouse, the wicked, which is Esau Edom, the so-called white man. He's in the White House, or I mean in the courthouse, pleading the fifth. See this? Dr. Anthony Fauci pleads the fifth to avoid Senate questions about the COVID pandemic. Okay? So he doesn't want to speak on it. And we know why. Okay, so, you know, there's this show on YouTube. It's called Redacted. You can subscribe to it, and they do a lot of content which deals with exposing the government and a lot of stuff, exposing, you know, different topics and issues. The guy that runs it, he does the show with his wife. What's his name? Clayton, and I can't remember his wife's name. It's slipping my mind right now. But the show is called Redacted, and they've got episodes dedicated to all of this type of stuff where, basically exposing the wicked, showing that, hey, because those people that on that show Redacted, they were smart enough not to take the jab, okay? The men of GMS, we were all smart enough or wise enough, whatever you want to call it, to not take the JAB, the jump shot, right? And because of that, none of us are dropping like flies. But I'm sure you know somebody, whoever's watching this video, I'm sure you knew somebody who in the last, since 2020 up until now, has suddenly passed away of a heart attack or of a stroke, or had blood clots and had to have a limb amputated, because these were all side effects of that jump shot. That's why this devil right here, make it bigger, he's pleading the fifth, right? Let's look that up, because I know people know what that means, but let's just look it up. What does pleading the fifth mean? It says, pleading the fifth means refusing to answer questions to avoid self-incrimination based on the Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. All right, so this devil right here, he's not going to answer questions, because if he answers questions, guess what? He's exposed. And these guys knew what that inoculation was. They knew the results of what was going to come to pass after people took that inoculation. Okay. And now look at it. Look at the situation. He can't even speak on it because he knows he did a wicked thing. And these devils, this is just one example and one event which they're going to have to pay for. When Yahweh Hashem Yahushua visit the earth, these devils, they got a rap sheet, they're just adding to the rap sheet every day, okay? Esau Edom, he keeps track of your records and shit. When you get in trouble with his laws, he'll keep track. Well, it's no difference with Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. The so-called white man has committed so many crimes, heinous crimes, right? He's committed so many abominations, so many sins towards the, towards the nation of Israel. He's known as the accuser of thy brethren in the scriptures. But thing is, he's getting exposed now, and that's why, like I say, this devil, he's pleading the fifth. Dr. Fauci invokes the fifth at hearing on alleged COVID-19 origin cover-up. This dude made a lot of money during that pandemic, okay? So now his time to get exposed is the time we're in. And really, the whole, not just Fauci, but the whole wicked elite, the whole, Edomites, they're getting exposed. The man of sin, right? Let's get a few precepts pertaining to what we've been talking about here. It says right here, let's go to Second Thessalonians 2:3. It says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. The son of perdition means destruction. And the reason I brought this verse out, the main point, is because this is the time where that man of sin is being revealed. Okay? Verse 4, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called the Most High, or that is worshipped, so that he as the Most High sitteth in the temple of the Most High, showing himself that he is God. You see, and who did that? Who set himself up in the temple, in the church? Whose face do you see in the churches and people are worshiping him as if he's a god? And it's the so-called white man. That's why he came up with, Cracker Jesus, which, that goes back to Cesare Borgia. That's basic stuff. When you first come into this truth, you pretty much learn. That's one of the first things you learn is about Cesare Borgia, which represents the false image of the Messiah, the Mashiach, that these devils have set up, right? They've covered the faces of the judges, right? They make all the laws. This is their world. Job 9:24, right? Let's see. Job 9:24, it says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? All right, so the wicked are the ones who have mandated, and they were the ones who were pushing this, this jump shot. They wanted everybody to take it, right? And there was a few reasons why they wanted everybody to take it. They wanted to see the resistance that the people would have, and they wanted to, as part of their agenda. When you look at the Georgia Guidestones, which have been destroyed, right? The first, it's basically, if you look into the Georgia Guidestones, if you don't know what that is, it's it's kind of like a small Stonehenge that was set up in Georgia. I'm not sure what city, but they basically were like the commandments on the left-hand side, the wicked, right? And the first commandment or first decree that was written on those Georgia Guidestones was to thin the herd, also known as population, what do they call it, population control, basically, where they wanted to minimize the numbers of the people on planet Earth, because in their eyes the Earth is overpopulated, which that's a bunch of bullshit. The Earth is huge, man. There's places that people haven't even been to, haven't even dwelled in, haven't even tapped into, but this devil, he tells you that the Earth is overpopulated, So, there's a proverb in number 18 I want to read real quick. Proverbs 18:10. Oh, I'm sorry. It's Proverbs. I'm thinking of a different precept. Proverbs 20. Is it 18 and 22? No, it's. Let's see. Proverbs 22:3. Yeah, this is it. Proverbs 22:3. It says, "A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished." Okay? And so the men with wisdom, the men who have the Holy Spirit dealing with us, we were able to hide ourselves during that time, right? None of it, like I said earlier, and Elder Apostle Jahar was speaking on this earlier today, none of the elect or the hopeful elect, and really none of the members of GMS took that jump shot. Because why? We're prudent men. We foresaw the evil and we hid ourselves from that thing. But we have a lot of us that have family members that they disregarded what we said. I know I have some in my family They disregarded what we were telling them, the warning. We were blowing the trumpet, right? But they disregarded it and they passed on and they got punished. And I have a couple family members who passed away because they took that jump shot, and they try to turn around and say, oh, he caught the Novid, that's why he died. No, man. He died because he took that jump shot. Or they died, or they had, one of them had strokes after stroke after stroke, all in the same time. And really, if all they had to do was listen to their family member. But they didn't believe the family member. They believed the system. They believed the so-called white man. They believed the devil. They believed Esau, Edom, before they even believed their own family members. That's why they can't get it when it comes to this knowledge and this truth. Because they'd rather hold on to that cracker Jesus that was set up as an imposter. They'll believe that before they believe in Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Okay? So, and the other person that you could throw into this mix, because there's been many, these aren't the only two people that have died from a heart attack as a result of taking the jump shot, right? But you think about, what's his name's son, LeBron. His son had a heart attack on a basketball court a couple years back, like it's probably maybe been like 3 or 4 years ago already, because time is hastily moving so fast that the days are shortened because for the elect's sake. But even LeBron's son Bronny had some heart condition. And why was that? Because Bronny's he's in the NBA. He's a primed athlete, right? Even though people talk shit and they say he's not good enough for the NBA, but he's hanging around still, And people could say, oh, it's because of his dad. But the point being is, Bronny's, he's still an athlete. He's still young. He still didn't seem like somebody who would, have a heart condition. See? There's a verse that I want to bring out. We always bring it out. It's Ecclesiasticus 12:10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Okay? So you're never supposed to, if you're an Israelite, you're never supposed to trust your enemy. We have a lot of enemies, alright? The heathen, believe it or not, are all our enemies. All of them. Okay? When you start trusting them, giving credence to them, guess what? They're going to stab you in the back. That's what happened. These people, because these were all Israelites I'm reading about. Talia Owens, Alan Nascimento, Bronny James, all Israelites, young Israelites who have been dealing with heart conditions and to the point of death in 2 cases. And that's just for the people I'm talking about. But on a worldwide scale, there's probably been hundreds of thousands of people, including young people, who have passed away. Because why? Because they trusted the enemy. Makes me think of Maccabees. Same thing happened during the time of the Greeks, with Antiochus Epiphanes. Let's get this real quick. After the so-called white man took over, and because the Lord blessed him with the sword, so he was allowed to basically conquer the ancient world, right? And it says, I'll read 1 Maccabees 1:9. It says, and this is talking about Alexander the Great after he died. It says, and after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. Evil means bad times. That's what that word breaks down to in the etymology. And here's the deal. The so-called white man has, when he began to conquer, starting out in the ancient world, evils were multiplied in the earth. When you have the wicked ruling, The Bible calls the so-called white man the wicked. When he's ruling, of course, evils are going to be multiplied in the earth. Okay. So after that, basically came Antiochus Epiphanes, which he was, let's read it. Son of Antiochus the king, right? I'm not going to read that whole part, but I want to read how as soon as our people started to trust him, he basically killed them. And that's the same thing that Fauci did, Remember during the pandemic, that motherfucker was on TV every single day pushing that jab hard. That motherfucker was going hard in the paint for that jab. You guys remember. So, let's see. So basically, I'm not going to read all this, because it's getting late, but I'm going to read, let's see. Our people, it's basically when Greeks were taking over Jerusalem, right, Israel, our land. It says, the land, verse 28, 1 Maccabees 1 and 28. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. And right now, our people, Jacob, the descendants of Jacob, which are the Israelites, the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, you're covered with confusion because you got to be a confused individual to believe your enemy, to trust your enemy. Or first off, you don't even consider the so-called white man your enemy. So that's the first part of the confusion, So let's keep reading it. Verse 29. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. And this is the track record of the so-called white man. He's a deceiver. He's the adversary. He's the devil in the flesh. He's the wicked according to the Bible. So of course he's going to speak peaceable to your face, but guess what? In his heart, it's full of deceit, as the scriptures say. Okay? It says, for when they had given him credence, which means they gave him credit and they started to trust him, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore and destroyed much people of Israel. And you know how many people old Fauci destroyed from Israel? A bunch. A lot of Israelites, including young Israelites in their 30s, probably some in their 20s, all ages. I don't have the numbers. They're never going to show you the numbers. But trust me, through the Spirit, we know this devil took a lot of our people down during the pandemic. Blaming it on the so-called COVID-19. But it was actually that jump shot that killed the majority of them. It says, and when he had taken the spoils, well, you know what? I don't gotta. That's it. I don't gotta read all that. But the point being is, everything he spoke, he started out speaking peaceable to them. Was not Fauci doing that shit when he came out? He was being all nice on the TV and answering everybody's question about the jump shot, even though he knew that it wasn't safe. Okay. Like I say, go watch that. Go look up Redacted on YouTube. And Clinton and their last name is Morris. I can't think of his one wife's name. Natalie, that's it. Natalie Clinton and Natalie Morris. They have a show called Redacted, which they go into a lot of topics that the fake news doesn't want to cover or doesn't want to touch on. Okay? So they go in all the time. I can't tell you how many videos I've seen, because they're basically on the same page as GMS when it comes to that device, that jump shot. And, I don't know if they know about the micro C-hip, the mark of the beast. I don't know if they're, I think they do. I think I probably even watched videos on them protesting and he basically, saying, hey, this is where this society is going. Because that's another point that I wanted to make earlier. That jump shot, that was like a predecessor to the micro C hip. Because the devil, he wanted to test the waters first. He wanted to see how many people were going to resist the jab. He wants to see how many people were going to take it. Because we always, like Elder Apostle Tahar, he's famous for saying, if you took that jump shot, you're going to take the mark of the beast, right? And that's probably accurate. I believe him 100% when he says that. So you people who have trusted the enemy and you took his jab, you same people that are going to take that fucking MOTB, mark of the beast. See? And he's going to be doing the same thing when he ushers that in. He's going to be speaking peaceable to you. But if you're not in the spirit, you're not in the right spirit, you're not going to understand and realize and know and discern that it's all deceit. See? And he's going to destroy you. Well, Yahweh B'Ashem Yahushua is going to destroy you. Yahweh B'Ashem Yahushua is going to allow the so-called white man, the wicked of the Bible, the Edomites, he's going to allow him to destroy you. And it's going to be kind of a subtle way, because you're going to trust him. You're going to trust his MOTB, a lot of you Israelites. 2/3 to be exact. You're going to trust him, and you're going to see no harm, no foul, right? When he ushers in his wicked device, the micro C hip, and you're going to take it. And we already know, if you read the scriptures, you know what happens to those that take that CHIP. It's going to be the same results, but on a greater scale of death and destruction and strokes, heart attacks, a grievous sore, as it tells you in Revelation. But, if you listen to the Lord's servants, the prophets, you would have been protected from that. But again, you don't want to listen to the Lord's prophets, right? It's not in your DNA to listen to the prophets. You're not set up that way, you see? Let me see here. Let's get this preset. Jeremiah 7:26. Okay, here we go. Jeremiah 7:25, it says, "Since the day that your fathers came forth out of the land of Egypt unto this day, I have even sent unto you all my servants the prophets, daily rising up early and sending them. Yet they hearkened not unto me, nor inclined their ear, but hearkened their neck. They did worse than their fathers. Therefore thou shalt speak all these words unto them, but they will not hearken to thee. Thou shalt also call unto them, but they will not answer thee. But thou shalt say unto them, This is a nation that obeyeth not the voice of Yahweh, their power, nor receiveth correction. Truth is perished and is cut off from their mouth." Okay? And this is talking about the 2/3, how they don't listen to the Lord's servants, the prophets. Okay? I should have started at 24. Verse 24, "But they hearken not." Hearken means listen. So you people don't listen to us. You don't believe us. You rather believe the devil, who's trying to kill your ass, before you believe your own brethren. You know what I'm saying? Who we have the same heritage, but the Lord just made you 2/3 a little off, because you don't listen. You don't listen. This is why he calls you a rebellious house. Okay? Verse 24, "But they hearkened not, nor inclined their ear, but walked in the counsels and in the imagination of their evil heart, and went backward and not forward." Right. And some of y'all, you went backward into the point where you're 6 feet under now. You're in the spirit world. because you didn't listen to the Lord's servants, the prophets. See? And this is the thing about Israel. They've always been stubborn. They've always disregarded the laws, statutes, commandments, the words of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. A lot of you people are running around, a lot of you Israelites right now are running around talking about, oh, the Lord's dealing with me, but yet you already took that jump shot. And you're going to walk right into that micro C-hip, that MOTB, mark of the beast. You're going to take it. We know, just like Elder Apostle Zahar said, those of you that took that fucking jump shot, you're going to take the chip. You know, that's what he says that all the time. We say that all the time. So, hey, when all this stuff comes to pass, those of you Israelites, you wicked Israelites that don't want to listen to us, you're going to end up like old Alan Nascimento, Talia Owens, Bronny James, having issues, having health issues, having heart conditions. Doesn't matter if you're young, you know what I'm saying? The devil's going to fucking, the Lord's going to allow the devil, so-called white man, to fucking destroy you. So, you know, I'm going to go ahead and close out on that. I hope the lesson was edifying. I know it was to the elect. So with that, I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge Al-Akia, who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom to the elect. Shalom.